All right, welcome everybody to this very special live today. I have on my dear friend, Mr. Justin Piche, and a secret weapon guest in the background known as Courtney. You will find out more about her as this interview goes on and what she's doing here with us today. Just in case you don't know, Mr. Piche here is one of the biggest and brightest names in land investing. He's only been in for 4 years. I say only, but this guy's been crushing it ever since he started. How big's your team up to now at this point, Justin? How many you guys got?
Oh, 28. 28
28,
people.
which he's very excited about, clearly. He's got
A
28
lot of
people
people.
on his
A
staff.
lot of mouths to feed.
A lot of mouths to feed, which isn't a problem because they consistently put up about a dozen of contracts every single month. On the flip side, they're doing tons of seven-figure developments. And if you haven't heard him, he's the host of the Ground Game podcast. So with that, we've got Mr. Justin Piche and Courtney, and this is going to be a blast today. Courtney, we're going to learn more about your credentials as this goes on. But why don't we start? For those that don't know Justin, why don't you give us anything else in your background and a little bit about what the business looks like today?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people probably know. I've said, given the kind of origin story, a lot of times trying to adjust this light here. I just moved into
Sure.
a new house, and so I haven't fully, I don't have my desk like fully set up, you know how it's like you get it just perfect and then
Yeah.
you don't have to worry about it. But the new desk doesn't have a spot for my light and all those other things. So anyway, but
You
origin
look great.
story, I was an engineer by degree. I joined the Navy out of college, submarine officer, served, did a couple deployments, some interesting things, let's just say. Left the Navy in 2017, moved to Houston, worked at ExxonMobil for a while as a supply chain like supervisor, manager kind of person there, and then left, quit, did to do land full time in 2021, basically. So it's been a whirlwind since then. That's kind of the origin. Started land flipping. Met you actually pretty quickly. I think after that, at least probably sometime in 2022, and have just scaled from there. Started just sending out mail, getting some deals, incorporated other marketing channels, started doing subdivides, and now I'm working on a lot more larger scale developments, funds, raises, lots of debt, equity pieces, and longer term, but higher reward.
Okay. So, guys, Justin just breezed past the past like half decade that he's been doing this, right? There's a few things I want to point out in here because, yeah, it's great. You got in, you started doing deals very quickly because you're a big action taker. I think it's no secret that since you and I have been in, I mean, we got in at a great time. There was a gravy train for about a year, and then it got harder, right? And it had been harder since, but that didn't stop you and the team from bringing in really sharp talent like Courtney, which we'll get to here in a bit, and so many other bright people on your team. You're not afraid of the overhead. You're not afraid to keep swinging, doing more business. If you didn't hear him, he said, then we went subdivides, then we went funds, and now we're doing this, and now we're doing that. So the guy keeps moving up the ladder, adding zeros to the deals. Yeah, means there's more risk, but the point just being in any market, up or down, there's always a way to be doing business, right? So Justin, I'm curious as we're getting kicked off, man, can you walk us through like what's your philosophy when you start bringing on some sharp talent? Because you've got tons of overseas talent, you've also got tons of US based talent. I've spent a lot of time with Brian on your team, who's really cool. You brought him to some events. He's fantastic. He caught me off guard at the airport on my way out of Minnesota last week. Actually, it's really funny. I was like zoned in. Boarding was in 3 minutes, and I hear Ajay out of the corner of my ear, and I turn around like, "Yeah, what's up, dude?" So he's great, man. But obviously, I've spent time with him, with Annalie, now with Courtney. So you've got fantastic people on your team. Can you speak to some of like your hiring philosophy of like when you know it's time to bring somebody on and how you're identifying talent?
Oh man. I mean, I think it's a very introspective thing, right? As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you realize pretty quickly that you can't handle everything. And if you don't realize that, then you may not have either a big enough goal or you have an engine that's so big and you can handle so much that like more power to you. But eventually, you get to a point where you see opportunities lost and missed because you don't have the right people in place to get to leads faster or to negotiate on your behalf or to underwrite projects or to sell your deals or to build out another team beneath them to handle more and more. And so, I mean, all the hires that I've ever made have been based on constraints that I personally had in the business, where I was a bottleneck and things were not getting done because I couldn't get them done in time. My priorities were too spread out. I was stretched too thin, and Courtney was actually pretty quick. Courtney is one of my dear friends. Her husband Skylar and I have been friends since we were babies. Our
How
my
cool
dad
is
and his
that?
dad were college roommates, so that we go
Wow.
way back. Courtney and I go way back, and one of the key pieces that drives your business forward obviously is the data that you're marketing to and actually getting your marketing out the door, whether that be mailers, whether that be texts you send, whether that be phone numbers you're calling, whatever it might be. That's kind of the key engine. Unless you're purely PPC, it's still important. You know, you got to be able to figure out where you're marketing to. If you're targeting any states or wide geographic areas, maybe a little bit less important. But for most of us who are doing active outreach, data is super important.
Absolutely.
Getting your lists scrubbed, getting your mailers priced, which is kind of back what we were doing, you know, getting range offers out. That's when I first brought Courtney on because we needed to send out quite a few. There's a lot of work that goes into thoughtfully pricing out a mailer. And I needed to negotiate deals. I needed to sell deals. I needed to focus on a whole bunch of other aspects of the business. And Courtney was kind of the perfect person to come in with her background and get that work done for Scoutland Group. And so that's kind of where we brought her on. But the same
Amazing.
philosophy holds for kind of all of our talent, right?
Yeah.
For Brian, you know, you talked about Brian. He's, for those who don't know, he's my dispositions manager. He's a killer. I brought him on really early as well because we had a bunch of inventory. We had a successful kind of few marketing campaigns, had a bunch of properties we needed to sell. I was still focused on scaling that side of the business, and I just had all these properties I needed to reach out to buyers on, and uh, it was just a lot. It was too much to handle, and so Brian was I met through a friend, sales background, and he came on and he's built out what I would say is probably the best, if not one of the best, dispo teams in this business.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I would second that. I mean, I've audited the biz and talked to the guy, and he's definitely got some very cutting edge dispo practices, and his mindset, like the head on his shoulders, is fantastic. So I think this will be a good time, Courtney. Let's start bringing you in here. I know you've been sitting there very, very patiently. I want a little bit of the story because what we do to the rest of the world sounds so outlandish. I feel like where it's like, wait, so you're taking you're buying land in the middle of nowhere and you're selling this to who and you do what, right? So can you walk me through the story of when Justin reached out and said, hey, I'd like you to join? And guys, if you don't know Courtney, this gal has a background in data, in math. She is a wizard when it comes to the data side. I guess technically you're supposed to say witch if you follow the Harry Potter logic, but I don't feel like that's very kind. So I don't know about that. And she is based in sunny Sarasota, Florida, which is why we're seeing that background. So Courtney, would you come off mute and tell us like what was it like when Justin showed up, right? Hits you and Skylar up and says, "Hey, I'd like to ruin your life." No, I'm just kidding. I'd like you to join the team. What did that conversation look like?
Well, fortunately, we were apprised of what he was up to a couple
Okay,
years before.
yeah, that makes sense.
So in his early stages of mailing, I think landowners for rentals, I think, or like
Yeah, that's
flips, like
true.
house
Yeah, it was
Oh,
flips.
okay.
wholesale.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
house
And
wholesaling and house flips. That was before even starting the land business. Yeah.
yeah, so we heard stories of Justin from Justin and his wife Juliana. Oh yeah, he was up until 11 o'clock, at night, combing through these mailing lists, and so then once the land investing, starting developing, and yeah, really early on, Justin pulled me in, but it wasn't anything too shocking. I kind of knew what was happening before that, leading up to it, and I
Okay.
was happy,
Okay.
yeah, to be able to assist with my skill set. I love numbers, love data, analyzing, and yeah, it's taken off from there.
Okay, that is awesome. And guys, there's this point I want to illuminate here where Justin, I feel like something I've watched you do over the years that's so wise is, you were kind of in the early wave of bringing people onto your team that were better than you at certain skills. And like being in business now for 5 years, that's like, well, duh, what is there another way to hire? You know what I mean? But early on in our careers, so many of us, we try hiring, and I have nothing against overseas talent. I've hired plenty. I've coached your team, and a lot of the overseas staff is phenomenal on y'all's side. Um, but so many people will bring on, a $4, $5, $6 an hour VA and be like, they're just not, they're not doing exactly what I need them to do. And it's like, well, there's a point here where you bring somebody in who doesn't have skills and just has time. You need to train them up. And that's what we stick ourselves in, right? People will bring in somebody in sales, stick them in my training. Somebody will bring somebody in without any background or any training and hope that they perform better with no guidance, right? So there's a point here, guys, where you can either hire up or hire down, right? When you're hiring down, it's people that have less skills than you and you're going to train them up internally. One of those trade-offs is typically they're cheaper if you do it that way versus you hire somebody that already comes with the skills. You ask them to join the team like Courtney, and you get a brilliant person to drive things to the point where we've actually got a really surprising, exciting announcement towards the end of this that we're not going to get into just yet, but you get somebody like Courtney in a seat driving along and you have this beautiful thing that gets created that serves the whole community, right? So I say that all to say that's hiring up. You're getting somebody that already has the skills. And the trade-off as a business owner is you pay a little bit of a premium, right? I don't know what your pay band looks like, Courtney, but I imagine it is not what we pay VAs overseas. I really hope not. No, I'm kidding. I'm sure it is not.
It's not. It's not.
But the point being, at a certain level, you get what you pay for, right? And you've got a killer like Courtney on the team because of that. So you're paying for speed. You're paying for somebody that's smarter than you at a skill set, right? She's proficient where she comes in with. So anyway, super exciting. Before we really drill down on like the problem we're seeing investors have and what we're solving, I want to speak just a little bit to another characteristic with both of you of actually leading your team. Because Justin, I know we've talked about this before. I hope the stat hasn't changed, or this will be a super embarrassing way to bring this up. But if I remember right, you've never had somebody quit on your team, right?
That's true. We let me caveat that we
Sure.
had a long time ago, early on in the business, one of our first hires for Brian when he was scaling his team. We hired an overseas VA, and she worked for us for a week and then ghosted us. So I don't know, like, just ghosted. So that was kind of weird and random, but I don't know if I count that. No employee that's actually been with us for any period of time has ever left the company.
Okay. All right. Well, can you speak to like your team's culture and how you like lead the team? Because you have 28 on the staff, right? That's a lot of heads, man. Like, how are you keeping everybody? How are you keeping all your ducks in a row? What are you doing?
I mean, first of all, they don't all report to me. That's probably pretty obvious, right? I think that'd be a lot of direct reports. So no, I mean, the main thing is just having really competent, like kind of executive level department heads in the business. So Brian's got a team of 3, and then Annalie leads the acquisitions team, and she's got a team of like 20 or something like that. But under her, she has another leader, Victoria or Vicky, who leads the cold outreach team.
Right.
And various people are responsible for certain levels of kind of engagement and oversight of the team. And then for me, it's really just, I like to set the culture of the team as we're working towards the same goal. So there's different ways to incentivize employees. Obviously, one is kind of competitions, pitting people against each other, and that we do little tiny mini competitions at times to, within financial incentives that help get teams competing against each other. But the compensation is really aligned that if one person does something great for the company that's going to produce some amount of revenue, then everyone else is going to benefit from that. And I think that really helps. I think my team knows that I care about them a lot. I think that's pretty apparent. They're not just kind of faces and names. I'm probably not going to air a lot of things the team is dealing with, but we're comfortable enough with each other where we share things that are challenging, we need prayer for, great things. One of the things I do every week on our weekly meetings, which I love because it makes me really happy. And I think it makes the rest, if Courtney you can talk to it if it makes you happy too, but I have the team share 4 wins on our weekly call. We just had our call a few hours ago today.
Nice.
And so we won't end the call without 4 people sharing some sort of win, some sort of good news that's happened in their life so that we can all celebrate. And just like little things like that help the team feel more like we do birthdays. We do everybody who has a birthday, we buy them a cake and we sing happy birthday on Zoom, and it's horrible.
So
I
cool.
lead it. And so like my voice is alone ahead. And then we sang happy birthday to one of our employees, Julie, a few days ago or last
Oh
week,
yeah.
I think. And we sang it in Spanish because she's from Colombia. So
Oh,
I led it, and it sounded horrible, but it was
yeah.
hilarious and fun.
Well,
And
Feliz cumpleaños to
yes,
Julie. That's awesome.
exactly.
Okay, Courtney, can you add to that? Please add to that in terms of the team, the culture. You've been here for a couple years now, if I remember right, and you haven't left
Yep.
yet. So something's working, right? Will you speak to the company's culture?
Well, I was going to mention, I do love the weekly calls and being able to learn about people's lives. There's a family channel in Slack where people share photos, and it's, although we're working from around the world, really able to connect on a little bit more of a personal level behind the keyboard. So that's really nice. And everyone's celebrating wins all the time, even outside of the meetings, is really great. And people being open. I love being able to talk to different people who aren't necessarily, I mean, I don't super oversee anyone. So being able to speak my insight into what's going on the acquisitions, and there's open ears listening to me, and thinking about what I've said, and even if it's not my direct line of oversight of, but just a suggestion. It's, oh, okay, we're all in this together. As Justin said, we're all in, trying to be the best that we can be for the business, and it shows.
That is awesome. I love y'all's culture. I feel like as I've met so many people on your team, both because I've had the pleasure of working with them on the acquisition side, and then also just Justin. We've been friends for years. I've met Brian at events. Now I'm thrilled that I get to meet Courtney in person at the summit this
Yeah,
fall.
we'll bring. I mean, we'll have me, Brian, Annalie, Courtney's husband. We'll all be at the Land Scaling Summit.
We're gonna have a whole squad, man, and that's Skylar, right? Is what you said his name
Skylar,
is?
yeah.
Okay, okay. This is gonna be a lot of fun, guys. Which, quick side note, if you haven't bought your ticket yet, September 19th and 20th in Dallas, we've got the Land Scaling Summit where we're gonna have people like Justin come up. Courtney's gonna be there. We're gonna have plenty of cool people on stage. Josh Pierce. I just had a phone call with Mr. Clay Hepler, who's going to be joining us on stage at one point too. I know you're good friends with Clay and have hosted many episodes with him. So yeah, we've got fantastic people that are coming out. I'm going to be dropping, man. I'm going to have so much fun with this, and we should even sidebar about some stuff I've got prepped on the back end because it's going to be a blast, man. We're getting fun stuff going and some really good presentations I've got prepped. But anyways, back to y'all. I want to drill down last on. Can we just talk high level? I know that you aren't the one running everything, but I have seen some of your Notion boards, man. Well, I've seen some of Brian's, and I've talked to Annalie, who's handled things really well. I want to start talking about systems and then bridge into some of the stuff we're doing with Teradata Consulting right now. So, could you just speak to, you've got a team of 28. Obviously, we've got great leaders, which is awesome. But great leaders really only work when we plug them into a system a lot of times, right? Things that are working. Can you speak to how you guys have, created systems over the years, how you iterate, how you manage, just like what does that look like in y'all's business?
I mean, it always starts with friction, right? One of the things that we have, obviously, part of a good organization, I think, is knowing who you are and who you want to be and identifying what your core values are. And one of ours is relentless self-improvement and also like a bias towards action. And those two things combined in terms of like your professional capacity lead to people improving processes, right?
Mm.
So we want to know as a leadership team the friction and the issues people are having so that we can solve for those, right? Uh, my there's been series I think in any business, and especially in this business, there's kind of seasons of quantity, right? Where you're saying, okay, well, I'm just not setting out enough marketing, or I'm just not doing enough deals, and so I'm going to increase the amount of marketing that I send out to do more deals, and that's great. All right, that's usually where most people who are starting out or early on in their investing kind of businesses are. They probably are not sending out enough marketing to get serious deal flow.
Right.
But then you get to a point where you are sending out enough marketing and you're leaving a lot of money on the table. And so you need to then focus on quality. You can't just continue to focus on quantity. You're going to just spend way too much money and not be able to capitalize on those opportunities. So then you have to focus on quality. That's where training, sales systems, follow-up systems, all of that start to come into play. And then there's forcing functions as well. When you are doing significant amounts of volume transactions, there's a lot of churn on your organization if it's not a smooth process, right? If one person doesn't own something all the way through, or there's multiple handoff points, or it's unclear expectations on the team of what they own and what they don't own are unclear, you're going to miss dates, you're going to lose money. And so that's kind of the maybe the background behind the systems that we've set up. It's really just a lot of visibility, right? Tracking KPIs, understanding where we are, and keeping data organized. Data organization is something that has kind of plagued us throughout the business because we've just changed things so many times, right? This business has changed so much. When you're sending mail and that's your only marketing channel, frankly, it's not that hard to be organized, right? You know what, you send a mail list to the mail house or whatever. If you print them out yourself, you probably have a big spreadsheet that you have put together, and you usually have reference numbers, and you have a CRM. And when people call, you're able to look them up, and you find their reference number, and like you can track that really easily. Once you start doing mass texting, 10, 20,000 a day, or you're doing mass cold calling and you have 10 cold callers calling out, and you're going through multiple lists on multiple marketing channels, you kind of start laying them. It gets really challenging to know, who did you market to? Who did you not? How old are these lists? When do we need to refresh them? Do we have the right tags? When something moves from one CRM into kind of another CRM, how are you able to track the KPI? So it gets really complex when you add all these different variables and combine that with high transaction volume. So anyway, that's a huge place where Courtney's been really, really helpful in is just getting the data organized, making huge changes to literally millions of lines of data just for Scout Land Group.
So let's drill down on that, because that is a perfect transition point into, guys, this is some really exciting stuff. I would recommend, if you're watching this in the background or whatever, get ready to take some notes. Just be on for at least the next 5 to 10 minutes, because Courtney and Justin have come out with this extremely valuable product that I wish was there when we all started. Okay. Can we take a second to just speak more to the problem? What investor are we calling out to right now? What problem are we solving with Teradata Consulting? What issues do land investors face, right? Like you said, when we've got different lines of data, multiple callers, like what are we solving for, and what investors are we looking for right now?
Yeah, maybe I can, Courtney, maybe I can just give you what my problem was when I brought you on.
Yeah.
And maybe my thoughts on what the problem is that I don't have to deal with right now because I have you. I kind of alluded to why I hired Courtney, but marketing data, the lists that you send marketing to, are super, super important. Like, you've got to get it right. You've got to get it on time. The cold outreach, what I like to call the instantaneous cold outreach channels, like RVM or texting or cold calling, those are kind of the primary ones. Those need a lot of data to run.
Tons.
They need to be, and any business owner who's doing this themselves, which if you're a small team or you're like a solopreneur, obviously you're doing this yourself, but if you have a small team, maybe an acquisitions manager, maybe a lead manager, you're probably still doing this yourself. You're going on to a tool like Land Portal or Land Insights, maybe Data Tree, maybe you're still using Data Tree, maybe you're using PropStream, maybe you're using Property Radar. If you are, you should probably switch to a better data source than those two, but you're exporting your data. You're going out, you're researching markets, you're trying to figure out where you want to market to, and then you're pulling out these lists, right? You're filtering, you're pulling out these lists. So you get this list, and maybe it's 20,000 records or 10,000 records or 50,000 records, whatever it is for you. Now you got to scrub it, right? You got to figure out who you're not going to buy from, where are their issues. Then you got to skip trace it, right? So you got to go in, you got to find a skip tracer. A lot of people use direct skip. They're pretty good. They're expensive. Generally, even if you buy in bulk, they're still pretty expensive. A lot of people now use Versium, which I've been recommending to people for a while. That's what I use, where you can get better pricing. Some people use, Deal Machine. It's another one that gets pretty cheap, but it's not nearly as like high quality or high match rate. And then there's a whole bunch of other ones that basically a lot of them white label and upcharge other ones. So like if you're paying 10 or 11 cents to skip trace right now, you're probably getting taken to market. I mean, they're just taking you for a huge margin generally. That's usually what happens. So you got to skip trace it. But in order to skip trace it and be effective with your skip tracing, you have to format the list appropriately, right, Courtney? I mean, like if you just take a list that you export out of a data source and you try to skip trace it without doing some manipulation to the list, instead of an 85 to 90% match rate, you might be getting a 60% match rate and getting really frustrated with your skip tracing service. So then you get it skip traced, and now you've got to split that data up into marketing campaigns. You've got to get it up into your CRM so you can track these leads. You've got to get those uploaded into your cold outreach tools. Maybe it's Ready Mode, maybe it's Mojo Dialer, maybe it's Launch Control, whatever. And then you got to market to all those people and track that data throughout your pipeline so you can actually get insights about how effective that list is for you. That's a lot of work and a lot of thought and a lot of organization. So when I was doing that myself, it just took a lot of time. All right. It needs to be right. I mean, the cost to somebody of skip tracing the wrong list. And this has happened to us. I remember early on, I was using direct skip and I would buy in bulk. I'd buy 100,000 skips at a time. I'd pay 5 cents a record.
Yep.
And I'd be spending $40,000-$50,000 a year on skipping. And what I used to have somebody do this for me. And I think it was one of our transaction coordinator accidentally like reskipped a list or something like that. And it was like 10,000 records, right? It was like $500, like gone or something like that. And it just, it sucks to have
you try to email them and they're like, sorry about
I
you.
did. And they were like,
Yeah.
you used the credits. I was like, but we had just used the credits. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry. That's just not the way anyway. There's a lot of mistakes that can happen. And it's just a lot to coordinate, especially if you have somebody kind of overseas doing it, following a process. So that's the problem, which is it's a lot of work. Business owners and entrepreneurs who are owning their own land businesses generally want to hold on to it because it is a high value and high intensity type activity that will determine how your marketing performs and thus how your lead flow is and thus how your financial performance is. But it's hard to trust somebody who you're hiring for $4 or $5 an hour to get that done.
Right.
That's the problem. So I'm going to hand it over to Courtney to maybe to define it a little more from her perspective.
Yeah, Courtney, take it away, and feel free to start telling us about. I know I'm asking very pointed questions, but I also just want to remind people of like all the stuff they're facing. Remind them of the times that they did skip something, and it's like, oh, I just wish I had someone to do this for me, So Courtney, please tell us more about either the problem or just bridge us into like what are y'all doing with Teradata Consulting right now?
Okay, so I can also say I was there at the beginning when Justin brought me on. I was the one, by hand manipulating the data. And so with Teradata Consulting, my husband and I were like, let's do what we do for Justin or, for other land investors and take that off the plate. And I was recently attended one of Callan Faulkner's training on sales, and she made a statement that really has resonated with me since I was like a month or so ago. That was hand off what doesn't bring you joy. So I think a lot of land investors, they're not finding joy. And like Justin said, it's frustrating to go through all of this process with the data and the manipulation and having those repeatable processes. So at Teradata, we can take that from land investors so they can focus on the parts of their business that bring them that joy of why they wanted to become land investors in the first place. So with Teradata, helping people with as simple as skip tracing, list formatting, but also even going from downloading to providing market ready lists. Like Justin said, there are so many different criterias from, you have this huge list of, maybe 100,000 records for whatever state you might be targeting, but for texting, you want to target 5+ acres, but then once you start calling, you want to make sure that those people have road frontage. So filtering by road frontage, and then you want to mail a even smaller subset because mail is expensive. So you want to make sure that you're really targeting. So I've developed processes that enable to be able to quickly, effectively, and repeatably turn out those data points for Justin.
It's
and I want to
incredible.
do it for other people.
Yeah, so they are opening this up. It's basically like Justin figured out the best person in the world to help us solve this problem. And now we are opening that up to everybody else. It's basically like you're getting a fractional chief data officer on your team. I don't know if that's the right term or not, right? But for a very nominal fee, you are basically able to tap into Courtney's genius. Again, this girl has a background in both data sciences and mathematics. So your brain is probably one of the scariest places for somebody like me to be. No, I'm just kidding. But I just imagine like you know the movie The Matrix. I just like all the when the screen's got all the zeros and ones on it. I'm like, is that just how Courtney sees the world, right? And I'm joking, but the point being, they're opening this up to land investors where people are able to get a done for you service where you basically have a fractional chief data officer to help you from the very beginning, if you want, from pulling those lists all the way through skip tracing, all the way through formatting, all the way up to getting it ready to be uploaded into Mojo, into Sly Broadcast, into whatever your mail house is, which is insane. What am I missing here? Courtney, Justin, tell me what I'm missing.
Well, when Courtney, so this is out of Courtney and her husband's kind of idea. Because when Courtney started working for me, you were probably working what, like 10 to 20 hours a week some weeks, and sometimes it'd be a little bit less, but it was pretty consistent, like part-time work. But over the last year and a half, it's been like a couple hours at most, right? Because you've implemented these processes to really make things happen quick for yourself, right? When Courtney approached me about this idea about starting Teradata Consulting and providing the same service to other land investors, my first thought was, okay, well, like, how do you get people to adopt this and give up this service? Because when you're doing high volumes of data, you have access to a lot of kind of an economy of scale when you can buy things at bulk and pay upfront. So you can buy a Versium subscription for $10,000 a year, or you can buy Land Insights, data package for $4,500 a year, or you can buy Land Portal for whatever, $800, $1,200 a month, whatever it is, and you can get access to these bulk data sources and bulk skip tracing at a marginal cost. And so I said, okay, well, if we're gonna capture clients that want this service, we can't make it more expensive or very much more expensive than what they can already do themselves, because they've obviously had these economies of scale to make sure that they can get their costs down pretty low. So we've got to bring this service to people basically at the cost that it would cost them, but without the headache. That's kind of what I challenged her with, and so that's what she's worked out on the pricing model, is that, I mean, and we're not afraid to tell people, like, well, we're our primary skip tracing service that we use is Versium. And the big thing about the way that Teradata makes money is that we just skip a lot more than you do. Even if you're a high bulk skip tracer, we skip more than you do. And so we can offer skipping basically at the cost that you would pay if you were to have a subscription plan to you directly, and make a small margin because we just have a much bigger plan. So it's not this crazy expensive thing. It's actually really inexpensive for what most people are probably paying for these services in their own business.
So let's drill down for a second, because I feel like there's a couple different services that are available to people. Do you guys have a deliverable just to break down like what things look like? If that's not show ready, that's okay too. But I know we're talking about skip tracing, we're talking about data preparation, we're talking about a couple different things that I think are different tiers of working with you guys. Is there?
Yeah, maybe I can do a quick example, Courtney,
Yeah,
if you
please.
know. So, okay, so let's say I am a land investor like myself, and I want cheaper skip tracing, but I don't want to buy a bulk Versium plan upfront. Like, maybe I'm kind of constrained on OpEx and I don't feel ready to drop 7Gs for the next year of skip tracing. You can come to Teradata Consulting, bring your data lists, give your lists to Teradata Consulting, and instead pay a monthly fee for credits that you use, or for whatever the credit tier plan is, basically the same price that you would pay Versium. It's the same price. It's just we're going to make a little bit of margin because our plan is bigger and we get credits at a lower cost than what we're kind of charging clients.
Fantastic.
So it's literally for somebody who's already skip tracing, for example, with Versium, that's all they want. Instead of paying bulk upfront, a big fee, they could just come to Teradata Consulting, have somebody else do all the work for them, and get the list at the same cost that it would cost them, except for instead of one lump sum, it's monthly, and they can stop whenever they want.
That's incredible. So you're helping land investors protect their cash, which is very important with what we do while still offering a done for you service at the exact same price they would pay for in bulk
Right.
up front.
Exactly.
That's
So
nuts.
that's kind of like the lowest level service offering of Teradata
Right.
Consulting. The next level would be that same service. Obviously, you bring the data, Courtney and her team scrub and get it skip traced, everything for you. But the next level is getting the lists market ready. So whatever outputs you need for your CRM or for your cold outreach tools, those lists will be ready and formatted and sliced however you prefer them for you to upload directly into your marketing software or your CRM. So that's the kind of middle tier.
That is gas. Keep going. Did you have more?
And then the final would be just that instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to give you my list of data that I want you to work over. The final tier would be, okay, I just know what type of properties I want to target and generally what markets I want to be in. You go and find that data for me and pull that data and export that data and skip trace it and get it market ready for me. So like, we'll just have a meeting and then I'll tell you where I want to go and how many records I want. And then you go do all that for me.
So let's can you give me an example of that? Like I would say like, hey man, I want to be in Alabama and buy properties worth like X to Y, or like how far does that go?
Courtney, I'll hand it to you here.
Yeah, please.
Really just as long as I have the criteria, the filters, to be at the land, the information about the land available, we can do it. So basing things off of age, basing things off inheritance, last properties, sold, the land frontage, vacant properties, anything. We can just, pull it, create that list and give it ready for the marketing channels and
I mean,
CRM.
this is what I do with Courtney. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I say, Courtney, I want to market in Alabama. That's what I tell her. And then she goes and pulls all the records that I need from Alabama. That's all I tell her.
That's
okay,
incredible.
So she could do that for you too if you're a really high volume, investor like I am. But if you're more niche and you're like, okay, well, Courtney, I want to market to Alabama. I want to market to properties that are 10 acres and up. They all have to have road frontage. I need the minimum kind of average market value for the area that we're marketing to be $40,000. And I want to, whatever, that might be your criteria. And then she would make sure that she pulls that data for you. And now, obviously, if you want 500,000 records that fit that criteria, you're not going to find it. And so that's not a realistic ask. You can't make up data, but she can get you all the records that are that size. You may just need to go back and pick more markets if you need 500,000 lines of data. But if you say, okay, well, I want markets that have 100% sell-through rate for whatever acreage size we're pulling in the last year, and this minimum price in this general area, and then she can go in and find all the data that kind of meets that criteria for however many areas that you need to go to get your credit number.
It's incredible. It's incredible. So easy. I wish this was around like 3 years ago, man.
I mean, it's work, right? It's just she's built up the expertise to do it from doing it for me for years, and has the capacity to do it for a lot more people. So that's kind of where this genesis came. But she's also got some other kind of ad hoc kind of consulting things that can be done. Like things that she's done for me in the past have been kind of a deep dive look into leads and into contracts. Like what are the demographic or other kind of correlations behind people, leads, deals that may help inform where we market to in the future.
Good.
Like backwards looks. And so those are things that obviously Teradata can do add on. Those are customizable. They're not like a clear pricing plan, ad hoc type stuff, because it's really just going to be Courtney's time. That's probably more of like this is your part-time chief data officer person coming in.
Totally. No, so that's good. And before I ask another question, guys that are here live with us, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. Or if you're just live with us and want to say hi, please drop it in the chat. Would love to see who's on with us. Would also love to see what questions you guys have while we have Mr. Justin Piche and Courtney here live with us. But Justin, do I say your name right? I feel like I heard you say it once. And there's like a slight inflection. You say a little bit different.
Yeah, I guess what would I say? I'd say Justin Piche. I'd say Piche. But
Okay.
P is fine. Piche is fine.
Okay. Okay. Well, man, you can correct as somebody.
Peachy, Pitchy,
Oh yeah, no.
Pish, Piche. Like those.
Is it French? Where's your family from?
Yeah, I guess, man.
Somewhere way back.
My family's from New England. I don't know.
Fair enough. Mine too, if you couldn't tell. No, I'm just kidding. I had my name mispronounced my entire life though, and continue to, so I get it. But okay, no, that's fantastic. Courtney, is there anything you want to add to what Justin just mentioned as well? Or do you feel like you covered all that pretty well?
I think he covered it really well. He's a prime example of how I don't know, I've been able to help, help him scale and get him the data and being able to do that for other people, other
Yeah.
land
I mean,
investors.
I only like to talk about the things that that I have personal experience with that
Totally.
have helped me. And I'm an open book, man. I will share anything with anybody who asks me for help. And so, I mean, honestly, a huge reason why I wanted obviously to get on this Facebook Live and why I wanted to tell people about this service is because I think Courtney's incredible and she's just done such good work. And it also seems like a no-brainer for me as a land investor to do this.
I don't disagree, man. Way better than me having to like hire and train a data VA, and then I've got to manage the whole thing and triple check all the work and yada yada yada. You know, it's a lot of brain bandwidth. Also, some fun people here with us. Nabil, what's up, dude? The Leclercs are on with us. What's up, guys?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
John and Kirsten.
Yeah, great people, man. Great people. And then Mr. Frank, what's up, Frank? I'm not seeing any questions in the chat, believe it or not, which means we
Maybe
must
we just
be done.
answered everything.
We just
Follow.
answered everything, man. We just answered
Yeah.
everything. Well, here's one is if people are interested in the service, what's the best way to get a hold of y'all? Is there a link we can click? Is there a sign up? Is there a website? What are we looking at? An email? Like what do we need?
There's a website, so it's terradataconsulting.com.
Okay.
I can send you any other information. Yeah, we have a website. We have a pricing sheet, email, contact@terradata.com. And we'll be at the summit. So we'll
That's
be able to
right. They
talk
will
to
be
land investors in person.
incredible. I just grabbed the website. I'm gonna drop it here in the Facebook comments right now so people can go ahead and check it out. Bang. I just dropped it. These guys will be at the Land Scaling Summit. I will get to bring Justin up on stage. Courtney is going to have a big old booth so you can come up and ask your questions. It'll be a normal size booth, guys. I don't know why I said big old booth. It'll be the same size booth as the rest of them. But that way people know where to find you, to come to you, to ask you questions, all that kind of stuff. And are you guys going to be at VIP night the night before as well? Do you know?
We'll see.
Okay.
I
It's
don't
okay.
know.
We can.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll
I'm
text
like
you
the
offline.
worst. I'm the worst planner in terms of like things like ever. Like my wife and I are going to Seattle in I don't know, like not even like 8 days. I don't think we bought our tickets yet. like we're bad. We're bad. I buy tickets.
Yeah, we'll
last
get
minute all the
there.
time.
We'll get there.
We'll get there. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Ready? Fire,
Ideally,
right?
yes. Ideally, I will be there.
Okay, cool, man. Just let me know. Let me know. We'll have a spot for you, but that'll be fun. All right, guys. Well, hey, I'm still not seeing any questions, man. Let me hit refresh one more time to make sure I've not missed anything. But I don't think I have any other questions. Is there anything else you guys want to leave with the people of the world, the land investors?
Maybe just ask yourself this question. If you could outsource this to a trusted person who has experience doing this, data, exporting, skip tracing, marketing organization, lists ready to upload into your marketing platform, what would you do at that time? And how could that impact your business? Because I don't think cost is going to be the issue for people. I really, really don't. I think you're going to look at our price. Yeah, I think you're going to look at our pricing and you'll be like, wow, that's what that's probably less than what I'm paying to do it. Especially if you're a small scale land investor, maybe you're doing less than 30,000 lines of data a month, 40,000 lines of data a month. You are probably paying more than what we are charging. In fact, I'm confident you are.
I would guarantee it. Yeah, unless they have some.
There's probably an exception, so I'm not going to say an absolute because there's probably some people that are killing it with some crazy pricing of some kind, or they're getting it for free for somebody or whatever. But yeah, I'd be really surprised to find out that many people who are in that kind of maybe sub 50K, even sub 60K are records per month are doing it for cheaper than what Teradata Consulting is charging.
Sweet. That's awesome, guys. I appreciate you taking time being on here and just telling everybody what you got going on. I dropped the link, so hopefully people can bump you with questions. And if not, we are 5 weeks away from the summit, if you could believe it. I feel like I have had this on the docket for a while. And oh my gosh, 30 days out from an event is always where like it's game time, you know? So It's interesting stuff, but we're buzzing over here. I can't wait to see you guys in person, Justin. I know I saw you in June, but it's just never enough, man. It's never enough.
Never enough. Never
Never
enough.
enough. Courtney, so great to get to spend some time with you. I'd seen you on a couple of Zooms, I feel like, over the years, but fun to get to know you a little better. Really looking forward
Yeah.
to you running the big old booth that we've got for you. Guys, I've dropped the website in here. If there's anything else in there, anything I can ever do to help, don't be afraid to reach out. But thanks so much for being on today.
Thanks for having us, Ajay.
Thanks. Yeah. Thank you.